Hello. I'm good. No, it's scheduled for 12. Fellow citizens, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in this media briefing. My name is Reggie Ngobo. the Minister is going to take us through, and then we'll be able to ask questions. On the panel, the Minister is joined by the DG, Mr. Mtu Shabane, and TDG, Mr. Terindowe. Colleagues, the number to call is 067 0059 766 or 064 9810 Without any waste of time, I'll ask the Minister to give her input. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to our listeners at home, to our farmers and to our farm workers who make sure that we continue to have food security as a nation. We also appreciate the work that has been done by our deputy ministers, our members of the Executive Council in the provinces, our farmers' organization, to ensure that indeed the intervention that we announced on the 26th of April with respect to the intervention that government would like to make to support smallholder farmers so that they can continue to produce during as well as post the pandemic. We announced then that the applications for this assistance was going to be from the 8th of April rather, and the closing date being the 22nd of April. These would include farmers who are farming in communal areas as well as those who have got their private farms. The way in which we opened up our offices to ensure that farmers, those who are not on the internet, can actually go to our respective offices in the various districts and provinces to receive and also deposit their application. We want to thank civil society organizations as well as our extension officers who made sure that farmers are assisted in filling their application forms. I want to remind all of us, when we made this intervention, we said we wanted to assist particularly farmers who are farming during this season, which is the winter season. We also said we wanted to target livestock farmers, particularly with feed and medication. We also said, in order to protect our farm workers, we will assist farmers through disposable masks as well as cloth masks and soap, so that indeed we have better sanitation as well as hygiene to ensure that the cohort of the farm workers that work in our fields, harvest in our fields, are protected during this pandemic. We also indicated that part of this intervention was going to assist about 146 farmers who are leasing government land on what we call plus farms, and that is about 216,000 hectares of those farms included. We also appreciated that it was necessary to employ more extension officers who would actually assist farmers to be able to produce effectively. We also indicated that we will target women, youth, as well as people with disabilities, because there are those who are in our farm sector. And as we do this intervention, we do not also want to compromise our policy objectives that we've agreed collectively as government. Today, I'm pleased to announce that after the closing date of 22nd April 2020, about 55,155 applications were received. We were able to to review these application forms and see who met the criteria that was announced. Out of those applications that we received, 15,036 applications have been approved with a value of just over 500 million in favor of smallholder and communal farmers. The work will be completed in terms of releasing the vouchers to the various applicants who have been successful. Out of these approved applications, 5,494 are women, 2,493 are young people, and 224 are people with disabilities. The remaining number is 9,542 who are our men farmers. I do want to indicate that though we wanted to reach a 50-50 threshold in terms of gender balance, we're not yet there, but we'll continue to strive that we address this challenge. Each of the approved farmers will receive inputs in line with the size of the farming operation up to a maximum of 50,000. Livestock, I must say, has been the highest commodity requested by farmers at more than 7,000, followed by vegetables at about 3,000 farmers, poultry about 2,500, and the remaining winter crops and fruits 600 and 100 respectively. I must say that as government, we have noted that there are some challenges that our farmers have, and we need to address those, particularly the record keeping. A majority of farmers had difficulty in actually confirming the turnover that they derive out of their farming activities. We therefore will be working with farmer organizations and some of our government departments to be able to address this challenge. Business development, we will be working with the Department of Small and Medium Enterprises to ensure that indeed we can assist those farmers to run their farming enterprises in an effective way. The application process has also enabled us to get valuable data that will go to our farmers register so that we can know exactly how many of our farmers in what categories, where are they farming, and what are they farming with, so that we can actually as a country have a better profile of our farming sector. In my view, I would like to say farmers' organizations play a critical role in ensuring that they support their constituency, and will continue to work with them in this regard. This intervention that government has made is an important one in ensuring that despite the challenge of the pandemic, farmers can continue to produce. We also want to measure the impact of this intervention. We are therefore working with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations together with our civil society organization so that we can monitor and evaluate the intervention that we had announced. I would like to urge the farmers that have not been approved that they shouldn't lose hope. We will be working with them with other departmental interventions, particularly in our provinces and at national level. We are also going to seek partnership with other non-government bodies to look at how best we can support our subsistence farmers. Subsistence farmers may not be farming in order to sell to the market, but they are a critical intervention in ensuring household food security. And we as government are actually concerned that this category of producers are a necessary element in our food system, and therefore they must be supported. And together with my colleagues, the members of the Executive Council, in this coming week, we will have a virtual meeting to look at how best we can support the category of these farmers. We've also been working with traditional leaders, and we're going to continue to do so because a majority of these subsistence farmers are found in communal areas. It is therefore necessary for us to look at how best they are supported with critical inputs that they require, but also that there is land available in those communities that can ensure that those farmers continue to produce. Some of them produce as individuals, but some of them actually pool their energies and resources in working in cooperatives at a local level. And it's important for us to ensure that we support this initiative. I would like to thank farmers, farm workers, civil society organizations that have worked with us during this process, as well as our government officials. And this process of the intervention that we've made have actually ensured that if we collectively work together as government departments, as well as the municipalities and other leaders that are critical at local level, we can succeed. And I therefore want to say congratulations to all of you who have succeeded. We will be happy when you harvest, because that food will be needed for our society during this critical time. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Colleagues, there it is. Our number again is 067 0059 766 and 064 981 0218. Do you have any questions?
We don't have any callers so far.
WhatsApp?
Thanks, Reggie. We don't have any question on WhatsApp. Thanks.
I think, Minister, your message was loud and clear. The colleagues have not yet called, but I think let's check. Nothing so far. It's still quiet, Minister. I think there is one.
We have one caller.
Thank you very much.
Caller speaker.
Hi, caller. Can you give us your question, please?
Okay, so my question is, what about those farmers who are not aware that their applications are supposed to be submitted and they are out of time now? Can they still apply, or what could be happen to them?
Okay. I think we've got the question. Any other question? Not yet. I think, Minister, let's take that question.
We have another caller.
Oh, there's another caller?
Yes.
Yes, caller. Go ahead.
You can ask your question.
Thank you. Kobus Funding from Food from Zanzi. My question is, what were the main reasons for applications not succeeding? It looks like about 30% of the applications were unsuccessful. Could you give us some of the reasons why most of the applications weren't successful? Thank you.
Okay. WhatsApp, do you have anything on WhatsApp? Not yet. Okay. Any caller?
We don't have any
No.
caller so far.
Thank you. Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much to our callers who have asked the questions. The farmers who missed the deadline can actually approach our various offices, because we do have other government programs that support farmers. So the fact that they might have missed this intervention, it doesn't mean they cannot be successful on other government programs. So I would like to appeal to those farmers who might not have been successful to actually approach our provincial offices, our departments of agriculture in the provinces, and I'm sure they will be assisted. Secondly was, what were the main reasons for those who were not successful? There were a range of reasons, but I'll mention two. One, a majority of the farmers who were not successful, in terms of the criteria that we've made, they were not making a turnover of about 20,000 annually, which was our minimum threshold. It is for that reason that I said in my intervention that those farmers who fall below the threshold of 20,000, we will be working with other non-government organizations as well as our provinces to look at how they can be best assisted, because they fall in the category of subsistence farmers. And as I said, this is a critical category for household food security. The second one was that some of the farmers who actually fell off could not produce the documentation that shows that they are operating in a particular piece of land, whether that land is privately owned, whether that land is actually in the traditional area. So actually, we had no sense that those farmers are actually farming anywhere. We worked with our extension officers so that they also can do some oversight and assess whether maybe they were not able to properly record, but again, there was no verification that convinced our extension officers that these indeed were people who are producers. The other, as I said, was the documentation, and that's the third one, where when we wanted the bank accounts to be able to verify that indeed this is the turnover that the person is making, we even said in our communication, some of the farmers we know may not be having enterprise business accounts where they can readily give us that information. Others use the same personal account they use for their other income. But we just wanted them to highlight so that we can indeed prove that they do derive at least 20,000 per year from the farming activities. And that, unfortunately, was one of the weaknesses. Thank you very much.
We have two more callers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First caller, can we take your question, please? Any taker between the two callers?
Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Kobus again from Food for Mzansi. Thank you, Minister, for answering my question. I have one follow-up question. Could you just clarify, you said about 500 million has been allocated. Does that mean there is money left in the intervention? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second caller?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Yes. My first question is when we go to our local offices and try to find out regarding the outcome, because as far as I know, when you submit the application, it needs to go for screening. So there was no communication to any farmers to say your application was successful or not. So how would we know that? Because we might sit here and waiting for the support from the government, only to find that maybe our application were not successful. That's the first question. And then quickly, the second question is it possible that, because we're always trying to follow the presentation from the minister, that it can also be communicated to our district, that they must communicate with us to say when maybe this process will be finalized, so that maybe we know that the waiting period and stuff like that. Thank you.
We have one more caller.
Okay. Caller, can you go ahead?
Okay. Hello?
Yes, you can ask your question.
Yes. My question to the minister is that I just wanted to establish, because the forms that we received as farmers was not self-explanatory. So that's why we had a lot of confusion of whether should we produce the account details and the statements. So I think the application forms were not self-explanatory to us farmers, because most of us, we are not as literate as most of you guys out there. Maybe the applications in the future must be made clear and easy for us to understand.
Okay. We got the question. Any other question? Let me take
We have one last caller.
Please, last caller. Hello. Can you take your question?
Yes, we are speaking to Trompo from Waterlake Food Security. I would like to ask, is it possible for the minister to break down the numbers in terms of provinces? Is it possible? Just that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much again to the callers. Kobus, On the categories that government said they were going to support with the 1.2 billion, we said 600 million was for smallholder farmers, those in private land and in communal areas. We said 400 million of that was going to go for the 146 plus farms, those farmers who are renting on government land, and the size of the land collectively, it's about 216,000 hectares. We also said the other amount will go for protective clothing for our farm workers. And the other amount was going to be the appointment of 42 extension officers. So with respect to the 500 million for smallholder farmers, we do have a little amount that is remaining. And once we conclude those remaining applications that have not been approved, we will then announce. I'm sure that addresses your question. The approval process for application, I am sure during this week, farmers will receive information, those who are successful and those who didn't meet the deadline, and the reasons why their applications were not successful. District and provinces would not have immediately informed farmers of their success until the approval process was completed. But I do appreciate that maybe there was supposed to have been constant communication to just advise farmers generally about where the process was so that they are kept abreast. The other issue which has been raised by the caller was the forms were not self-explanatory, particularly on the accounts, whether people could have submitted their personal accounts to verify. Indeed, that is correct and maybe was an oversight on our part. However, our offices and extension officers were available to assist farmers with clarity if there was some concern that certain things in the form were not quite clear. We will improve in the future as having been advised. The last caller wanted to know the breakdown per province. I would actually indicate that that breakdown. We will also make it available. In the Free State, we actually had 389 approved applications, and 230 are males, 159 females, 37 are youth. We didn't receive any application from people with disabilities. KwaZulu-Natal, 2,812 approved application. Males, 1,592. Females, 1,220. Youth, 487. No people with disabilities. In Northern Cape, approved 1,435. Males, 1,184. Females, 251. Youth, 140. In Gauteng, 1,045 approved applications, and males, 446, females, 599. There we had more females, and youth, 484. In Mpumalanga, 999 approved applications, males, 691. Females, 308, youth, 220. In Northwest Province, 3,153 approved applications, 2,110 being male, 1,043 being females, 625 being young people. In Limpopo, 1,994 approved applications, 862 being male, 1,132 females, 506 young people. In Eastern Cape, the 1,622 approved applications, of those, 1,068 were men, 554 were women, and 203 were young people. In the Western Cape, 1,587 approved applications. Of those, 1,359 were male, 228 female, and 175 were youth and 1 disability. In Limpopo, we had 44 approved applications of disabled people. In Northwest, we had 49. In Mpumalanga, we had 105. In Gauteng, we had 67. And in Northern Cape, we had 19. I'm sure that breakdown will satisfy the caller. But it's important also for me to say, for poultry, it was 2,252 overall in all the provinces. The breakdown will be made available in public so that we do not take much of the time of our listeners at home and also for other programs. For vegetables, it was 2,942. For fruit, 65. For livestock, 7,696. And for the winter crops, 610. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister.
We have
Colleagues,
one caller.
okay, before we take the caller, can we take the WhatsApp questions, TK?
Thanks, Rich. The first question here, we have an Angelo from CGTN who said, what's the status of the fight against foot and mouth disease? And the following question is from Vikas Berger from Network 24. The question is, were any applications received by commercial farmers? And if so, were any of these applications approved? And how much funds were allocated to this sector? And the following question, can you share with us what percentage of women farmers benefited and what is the distribution of the money in terms of provinces? And as Lindy Butelezi from Fin24 said, you say most of the farmers who were not successful didn't meet the minimum threshold. So is it safe to say majority of farmers who needed support were subsistence farmers? And the second question from Lindy, where he said, is the land bank still approving and disbursing loans to farmers to help with food security concerns during COVID-19, given its own liquidity issues? We have another question that says, we have just entered the farming fraternity, hoping to grow from where we are. We have been a communal farmer, but not have acquired a farm in Brits, not yet registered due to COVID-19. Do we also qualify for government grant? And do we desperately need feeds for our livestock, cows and sheep? And the other question says, why was the application period for the agri grant so short, given that we are still under lockdown? And the last three questions, the president during SONA announced the budget or a budget for agri-parks, and my question is, how will this program be affected? And also the program of issuing state land, how will it be affected? And the following question from it's a business journalist from Network 24 who said, could the minister elaborate on when wine farmers will be able to sell their product and what she's doing to help those farmers survive this period? And also, when will the money flow to these farmers? And also, will there be a list available of who received the support for transparency? And the last question, it's from Nelly. It said, could the minister elaborate on when? Okay, it's the very same question. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, thanks, TK. Let's take the caller then. Caller?
Good morning, sir. How are you? My name is Wayne Makatesi. I'm from the Northern Cape in Barkley West. I'm a young farmer. My question to the minister is, in terms of those who were given funding, was there any thought given to those who had thought about their circumstances in the regions in where they farm? For example, here in the Northern Cape, we are already under frost. The frost started dropping about this week from Monday. So planting, even though, yes, planting winter crops, it is almost redundant in such a way to say, because we're in the dead of ice. So some of us took the initiative of not only planning our winter season as we had been planning, but planning our summer season in it as well. We understand that it was meant for winter season only, but was there any thought given to those who thought what their circumstances and what challenges their circumstances may give? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's no other caller.
No,
Minister.
we have one more.
One more, last one. Let's take the caller. Caller?
You can go. Lost him.
Yes, caller?
We lost the caller.
Oh, we lost the caller. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much. The first caller wanted to know what is the status of foot and mouth disease in our country. Indeed, as we know that last year, November, we actually had an outbreak in Molemule in Limpopo, which then spread across the province. The source of the outbreak was actually in a feedlot, and we're able to trace all those who purchased from that feedlot. We quarantined the Limpopo province to ensure that there was no movement of animal outside that province, and then there was also no trade outside of that province. We put measures for containment, which were successful, and we also ensured that we protect the rest of the country from the outbreak of foot and mouth. That is why in February this year, we made an announcement to open out the trading, particularly on auctions, once again, with beef in particular. So we are managing the situation, and we are convinced that we'll be able to completely eradicate the challenge that were faced in that province. But as you know, that along the borderline, particularly your Kruger Park, around Mpumalanga and Limpopo, as well as some parts in Northern Natal bordering South Africa and Swaziland, we do have what we call the red line zone, which means foot and mouth is endemic in those areas. And it's important for me to do a little bit of education to actually say foot and mouth is transmitted from buffaloes to cattle. And therefore, one measure that we had put continuously is to ensure that, working with the International Organization on Animal Health, we actually have a buffer zone so that there is land between the park and where our farmers are to actually conduct on an ongoing basis surveillance as well as vaccination, so that you protect the cattle herd that is in the neighboring of those game parks in particular. You know that we are currently having a challenge in the Eastern Cape in particular with African swine fever, which again has affected some villages in Amatole district. We're working with the province to ensure that we contain. And I must say that animal disease is part of the ecosystem that we have to manage in the agricultural sector. And that is why we always educate our farmers to take care of their livestock and make sure that proper vaccinations are done at a particular time, and that dipping services are also conducted on a continuous basis to ensure that we protect our animal health, but also we protect the meat for our consumers. The question was also about commercial farms or farmers. In the intervention that we announced, we actually said everyone who has a target, rather a turnover of 20,000 to 1 million annually can actually apply. So it could be a small commercial holder who's making an income of about 50,000 or 500,000 or $1 million a year. All those, if they met the criteria, they actually did get successful. More farmers who applied, it proves that there were subsistence farmers, as the caller said. Indeed, there was a mix. There were a majority of those who are subsistence farmers and also those who are smallholder. As indicated once again, we have agreed as the ministry and department, as well as with our MECs in the various provinces, that will need to reflect on how best we can work with these farmers to be able to give them the necessary support that they need. Yes, a majority of those farmers are in our communal areas, and that is why even in our support, we said those farmers who have got private land or are leasing private land, but even those that are in communal areas must be supported. And we have received applications from farmers who are farming in communal areas. Why was the period short? We were dealing with the intervention, and we're also linking that to our agricultural calendar so that we do not miss the winter season, which actually is very critical because it provides us with necessary vegetables that are needed in our communities during this period. So we were targeting that window. It doesn't mean we are not going to look at how we assist those who are falling on the agricultural calendar for summer crops. We will do so, and working with the province, when the time comes, necessary announcement will be made. Statement made by the president in the beginning of the year about the release of state land. Actually, it was an affirmation of a statement that president made in June last year when he made his first State of the Nation address to our country. We have already started to actually make public announcement to people who are willing to actually access state land. And that adverts will be made available in all sorts of media, including our government website, so that people can apply. So that program is ongoing despite the challenge of the pandemic that we're having. Similarly, with the Agri-Parks program, that is ongoing and it's continuing even as we speak. There was a question about wine farmers. Wine farmers are actually supported by government like any other sector. Actually, even under the lockdown level 5, wine farmers and table grape farmers, apple farmers, avocado farmers who were actually in their harvesting season did continue with the harvesting. And in the announcement of level 4, we indicated that wine for export can actually continue to happen. So, in my view, government has made sure that our wine farmers don't lose the markets that they have for their produce internationally. The last question that was raised, because I've answered the summer crop, was with respect to the list of farmers that were successful. What will be important is that, firstly, the applicants must be the one who receive the information of their success, and thereafter we will make the list available so that the first point of call of a farmer does not only read his or her name in the paper before himself has been informed of his or her success. Thank you very much to the callers for your questions. I know there was a question that related to how much per province were those that are successful received. We would actually make that available because it will take too much time for us to indicate figure by figure, as we said, about the categories of those farmers that are available. So the amount of the amount per province of those who have been successful will actually be made available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think, colleagues, we've come to an end of our briefing. I think in terms of the breakdowns, the MECs as well, they'll be given an opportunity to pronounce per province in terms of the number of people, the amounts that are associated with those people. On that note, Minister, thank you very much. DG and TDGs, colleagues, thank you very much for your time. I thank you.
How are you? I'm good.
All right, there you go. The Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Thoko Didiza, briefing the media with regards to the Agricultural Disaster Fund application process. And this is basically to assist farmers who are farming during the winter season as well. And farmers will be assisted with disposable masks and